So the journey is underway. 25 laps in this great race. The 51st staging. Ron Clark won the first three way back in 61, 62, 63, and then added victory in 68, 69. Steve Monaghetti, he'll be making the presentation. 4 wins, 1 second, 7 thirds in this race. Other winners include Derek Clayton, Jared Barrett, Rob De Castella, Andrew Lloyd. It's been won by all the big guns, and tonight, Tom, promises to be such a wonderful race.
Arguably one of the best fields we've assembled for this great race. Micah Kogo, of course, we've mentioned before, the bronze medalist from the 2008 Olympic Games over in Beijing. His compatriot, he brings with him Emmanuel Bett, 9th fastest man in the world this year, over 10,000 metres. Bitan Karoki, well, we saw him run so exceptionally well when he won that 10,000 metre race at the Jordan Payton Invitational in Stanford. He actually led home Ben St Lawrence, one of our favourite Australians, to his Australian record. A blistering turner speed he unleashed. We see it's Mick McCormack that's leading the field through the early stages. The 3:35 runner from the UK, over 1,500 metres. He's just going to keep them honest through the early stages, but the big guns, they're where you expect them to be. They're right at the front.
Yes, just to identify the runners, the Beijing bronze medalist Micah Kogo is running third now on the inside in the light blue and the white. Just shading him, Bitan Karoki has got up to second behind McCormack. It is Emmanuel Bett in 4th place going down the back. In 5th place is Luke Kipkosgei, multiple winner of this event, and right behind him is Buster Mottram, who is running in 6th place at present in the green, and Ben St Lawrence not far off his back as they travel down the back straight, and they start to string out already with Nick McCormack of Great Britain making the pace.
And a couple of the other Australians just to take note of, in behind Buster Mottram, Ben St Lawrence we mentioned, Harry Summers in the black there, Liam Adams, the City to Surf winner, also the national cross-country champion there in the green top. We see in the red and black stripe, it's the 2008 Zatopek champion, Dave McNeill. Of course, a very famous training partner he has, Bernard Legat, one of the greatest to ever strap on the spikes over the middle distance ranks. Coached by him is James Lee. They trains together over in the States.
They went about 1:09, 69 seconds for the first lap off the standing start, and the second lap round about 65 seconds for Nick McCormack, with the 2, in fact the 3 Kenyans, make that 4 actually, breathing down his neck as they go down the back. And back in 6th place is Craig Mottram, the man who gave us such a thrill against the Kenyans in that magnificent 5,000 metres in Melbourne at the Commonwealth Games going back 5 years ago, when he had that remarkable battle with Augustin Chogi. And the last 2 laps of that race, well, the MCG's foundations were rocking that night.
They were, and it was one of those great head-to-head battles on the track, and after 12 and a half laps, it came down to a fraction when it was Chogi that had the better of Mottram on that occasion. But Mottram, of course, a bronze medalist on the world stage, making his return and bid towards London 2012. And he said earlier in the week that tonight was about getting a time and booking a berth to the Olympic Games, so he doesn't have to stress and he can chase that 5,000 metre time.
And speaking of those Commonwealth Games, Tom, it was the catalyst for Ben St Lawrence, the man who is currently in 7th place at the moment, to actually get serious about his athletics. He had, by his own admission, a bit of a party boy reputation, and after watching the Commonwealth Games in Melbourne, he decided to knuckle down. He's certainly done that. He's the national record holder at 10,000 metres. He's already gone inside the Olympic qualifying standard this year. The Olympic qualifying standard, by the way, 27.45, so around about 66, 67 second laps would get that result.
So we mentioned they ticked through in 69, then 65, so they're starting to settle into that 66, 67 second pace, which will see them tick through 27.40 at the end of the race. 27.45 is the standard. And we just see the field starting to break up. It's what you'd expect in this sort of race. We've got the real elite, the top end of world distance running at the front of the field in Kogo. Bett. Mottram's not too far off the pace. The great Luke Kipkosgei was seen electrify the crowds in Melbourne so many times in those 4 great Zatopek 10 wins over at Olympic Park. Mottram moving past him now as they go through with 21 laps remaining.
Yeah, and I think the reason Mottram wanted to just keep an eye on the first 4, because they did get that little buffer, and now as Kipkosgei starts to drop back, Mottram anxious not to let the first 4 get too big a gap. The gap between the 4th place man Emmanuel Bett and Buster Mottram, probably 6 or 7 metres going down the back straight, and he'll be just slowly working his way towards closing that gap in the next lap or so.
So the four Kenyans working quite nicely in behind the pace that's been set. Karoki back to Kogo and Emmanuel Bett. See, Mottram has bridged that gap and we've rejoined the leaders at the front of the field, and it's who you'd expect to be there. The three Kenyans and the three Australians, three great runners over this 10,000 metre distance. Of course, Mottram has won the Zatopek 10 on 2 occasions. The first as a 21-year-old. It seems to be the thing here this evening. Of course, Kogo, we talked about in the steeple, he won as a 21-year-old in Sydney. Mottram run as a 21-year-old in the Zatopek 10 back in 2001. Backed up 2 years later, took it out in 2003. As we just see a slight shuffling of the lead at the front. Of course, it's Karoki that's gone to push the pace up. Kogo tucked in behind, Bett into second place.
So McCormick, having completed his job, has pulled off into the middle now. So the three Kenyans, as Tom said, are making the pace. Mottram back about 5 metres behind them at the moment. St Lawrence is looking at Craig Mottram's name written all over his bib down the back straight. McNeill is next, and Lee Adams, the City to Surf winner, is the man making up the 7th place, and their gap already about 30 metres to the remainder of the field. The pace has been pretty relentless early, and it's showing no signs of stopping yet.
Liam Adams obviously made a conscious decision that he wanted to go with these leading trio of Australians. We saw him last year as the second placed Australian across the line at the Zatopek, in behind Ben St Lawrence. So definitely in that elite category, looking to try and sub under that 28-minute mark. Of course, he's had an outstanding season on the road and in cross-country, and he's just trying to tack onto the back here. We'll see them go through 19 laps remaining. It's Karoki back to Bett. An interesting thing about Bett, we saw him run that 10,000 metres earlier in the year. Of course, that was over at the Brussels Van Dam meet where so many fast times are run. And that 26:51.95 that he ran, it would appear the second fastest 10,000 metre track on debut. It was his first time at the distance, and not a bad time to pop out 26:51.95, Peter.
All of a sudden, Karoki has gone from up at the front of affairs to back as the last man in that lead pack. And he's back about 2 or 3 metres off the back of McNeill going down the back straight too. So not sure whether he's showing any signs of fatigue just at the moment, but it was quite quickly a reverse move from Karoki. So that leaves Bett in front of Kogo, Mottram comfortable in third, St Lawrence, the national record holder, in fourth, McNeill, the 2008 winner, in fifth. And in sixth place at the moment, Bitan Karoki just hanging on, and Liam Adams back about 5 metres. And that really is the end of calculations, but the other runners looking for their own personal best times as they come down with 18 laps to go. They passed 19 to go in 6:42. So let's have a look at the pace of this. Probably around about a 67-second lap that time.
So they're around about that 27.50 pace. So they're sitting where they want to be for this 27.45 Olympic qualifier. We're talking about Karoki before. He's just rotated off the front. I wouldn't be too surprised to see him running from a while back. We saw him in his Palo Alto, his 10K performance there. He ambled through, we say ambled, 66, 67 second laps, and it was with about 3K to go that he really started to apply the pressure. So maybe just conserving and applying similar tactics that he did in that race. Of course, St Lawrence will be familiar with that because he saw him go straight past him. St Lawrence hung on, though, to claim the Australian record.
In that race, Karoki ran 27:13.67, and St Lawrence, the national record holder in that race, 27:24.95. That was at Palo Alto in the United States in May. Craig Mottram, as we mentioned, the winner back all those years ago, fourth on the all-time list, Australians, 27:34.48, World Championship bronze medalist. He's not looking really for this event in London next year. It's going to be the 5,000 metres that is going to be the centre of his attention, but the main aim is to make the team here.
It's all about just that security that booking that berth does do. And of course, we saw him tackle the 5,000 metres at the Victorian Championship a couple of weeks ago here, straight off a very heavy training block up at Falls Creek, and he ran around about the 13:45 mark, which is about the pace, maybe slightly slower, that you'll expect to see them go through the halfway mark in this event. As we see Emmanuel Bett at the front of the field, Kogo in the second, Mottram just looking very comfortable. Well, he's a full foot taller than those two Kenyans in front of him, but that's not uncommon for him on the circuit. Ben St Lawrence looking very comfortable, as he did last year when he tucked in behind Josephat Menjo for so much of that great race before the Kenyan unleashed a brutal last 5,000 metres. David McNeill, good to see him right up there. He's come off a very solid training base, of course, with Bernard Legat over in the States. Legat in fact, tweeted him the best of luck across there, one of his strongest supporters. And we see Karoki just maintaining touch, but it's a race in 6. Liam Adams, well, it's an unfortunate place to be in 10,000 metre racing. He's in no man's land, and Harry Summers maybe just started to make some ground up off him. So 16 laps we've got to go, just through 10 minutes travelled in this 10,000 metre Championship of Australia.
So it's a matter now of just seeing when and if there's going to be an early move just to break up the rhythm, but all of those runners seem pretty content with their spots just at present. The Kenyans up at the front as they usually are, the Australians in the next 3 positions, and the Kenyan in Bitan Karoki content to sit in 6th place. As Tom said before, that's the way that he likes to address his races, and so now it's a waiting game with a bit over 15 laps to go, 15 and a half laps to go. Bett leads, the Olympic bronze medalist Kogo 2nd, Mottram 3rd, St Lawrence 4th, McNeill 5th, and Karoki in 6th. And now they've got a gap probably of about 50 or 60 metres to Liam Adams, who heads the remainder in 7th place.
So we look at the man on the front, Emmanuel Bett. Of course, he set that personal best time, 26:51.95 in Brussels at the Van Dam meet. They go through 11:10.86, 15 laps remaining, so that's at the 4K mark, 11:10.86. That season just sliding underneath that pace, 27:45, so they're about on an 11:50 schedule, so a little bit off kilter, but we just see the first question being asked at the front end of the field. Peter, Emmanuel Bett just started to apply pressure, and Kogo going with him. Karoki wants to be a part of it. St Lawrence tacked on. Mottram's there. McNeill's there. I think they'll rejoin and get back together again.
Yeah, just for the moment, though, Mottram not able to respond down the back straight as the Kenyans put in a bit of a surge. Terrific run going on here by Harry Summers, by the way, who's got up and he's passed Liam Adams, and he's got up into 7th placing at the moment. So those two involved in a race of their own, but the business end is up front, and it's Bett who has it at the moment from Kogo and Karoki. So the Kenyans now 1, 2, 3. St Lawrence is the man who's able to latch onto their back. McNeill's just behind him, and Mottram has dropped back about 6 or 7 metres away now and is having trouble keeping in touch as the Kenyans surge in the lead.
It's a really critical time here for Craig Mottram. He doesn't want to lose touch because 10,000 metre race, they can be so lonely when you're out there by yourself. McNeill and St Lawrence are his target. He's just got to lock onto. He's got to maintain that contact, that elastic band that extends back to them. He doesn't want to let it stretch any further because he could be in trouble. As we see the Kenyans, they love to run in threes, they love to run in groups, and they're applying the pressure together. It's Bett, Kogo, Karoki, St Lawrence and McNeill have got to work together, the Australians, to just maintain contact, because if they do, they'll be on track for that Olympic qualifying time.
Certainly couldn't fault the style of Ben St Lawrence, and that has always been the case. He looks very comfortable in 4th, despite the fact that that gap between himself and Karoki has got out to round about 7 or 8 metres at the moment. If he's worried, he certainly doesn't look it. He hasn't lost his form, the national record holder Ben St Lawrence, and he's doing nicely in 4th place at the moment from McNeill. And now Mottram, well, he has surrendered probably about 10 or 15 metres to his fellow Australians in front. He's back in 6th now, and he's the best part of 40 metres away from the man who takes them through with 13 laps to go. Emmanuel Bett from Micah, Kogo and Bitan Karoki. How many times have we said this? Kenya, 1, 2, 3.
You can just see that grimace on Craig Mottram's face at this stage. He really is putting in the hard work, trying to maintain that tempo, the rhythm, just to keep himself rolling through. But you talked about composure and Ben St Lawrence. We saw him serve it right up to Bernard Lagat in that 5,000 metres at the Melbourne Track Classic last year, where he took it right up to a personal best time. He ran 13:10 on the occasion and qualified himself for the World Championships. And there we are, ladies and gentlemen. The Australians are back on with the Kenyans at the front end of the field of the Zatopek 10. It's Karoki, Bett, Kogo, and with them it's the Australian record holder St Lawrence and David McNeill, the 2008 champion. He's right there in contention, and they're working their way up to the back end of the field. Karoki back on the front.
So after all of that, we're not even, well, we're just around the halfway mark as they come down to get 12 laps to go, and Karoki, having come from 6th place, now perhaps just slackening the tempo a little bit, it would seem, from Bett and Kogo. St Lawrence looking very comfortable in 3rd at the moment. McNeill 4th, and the gap now to Craig Mottram is probably the best part of 50 metres or so So he has lost contact with the leading 5. It's down to them at present as we go to the halfway stage and beyond of the Zatopek 10, the first staging here at the Lakeside Stadium in Albert Park.
And you mentioned the pace had slackened slightly. They've dropped off that Olympic schedule back to around 28 minutes. So at 5,200 metres, they went through in about the 14:10 mark. So they've dropped back off the pace. As we see our leaders just having to negotiate some traffic. You see the fans, they're right in on the rope on the bend. How good is that to be right up against some of the world's best distance runners? You can hear them breathing, you can see the perspiration dropping off them, and they're just starting to work through the field. It's Bett, Kogo, Karoki, St Lawrence. He just looks ice cool there in 4th place at this stage. And McNeill, very impressive, he's right there with them.
And this is often a bit of a Kenyan tactic too, as they do come up to lap runners. Quite often they put a bit of a spurt in and decide to just try and make some advantage by getting around the lap runners. Pulling off now, Luke Kipkosgei has run his race, and it's great to have Luke back in the field, and he has made his way from the track. So amongst all the traffic going down the back straight, Bett has got to the front position of the 3 Kenyans. Kogo has looked so comfortable in second most of the time. He's either trailed Bett or he's trailed Karoki, and he's been the meat in the Kenyan sandwich, and that's the way it is down the back straight. St Lawrence still maintains 4th, and he's anxious to keep in contact as they go around some more lap runners, and he's doing that without spending too much petrol. And McNeill is also probably not quite the stylist of St Lawrence, but he's having no trouble staying on.
But he's so tenacious, David McNeill. And we talk about St Lawrence and Karoki having gone head-to-head before, but McNeill and Micah Kogo actually have some history back to the 2009 final, the 10,000 metres at the World Championship. And we talk about team tactics. Well, Kogo was part of that Kenyan trifecta that really drove the pace, wound it up. Kogo ended up dropping back to 7th place. McNeill placed 24th on that occasion, but he's making amends here. He's right there with them. They go through 16:42.11 at 10 laps remaining, and they're just edging back closer to that pace. So they've quickened again. You've seen Bett and Kogo just apply a bit more pressure. Karoki sat back in. St Lawrence is just not giving them an inch, and McNeill's right there with them. It's very impressive from these 2 Australians. They're looking for that seat on the plane to London, and they can secure that tonight here.
6,000 metres down and then some. So a little bit less than 4,000 metres to go, and yet again the pace looks as though it might be intensifying just a little bit at the sharp end, with Bett, the man, quite often picking up the pace. Kogo just content to latch onto his back. In 3rd still is Karoki. Listen to the roars coming from the crowd behind the ropes there as they come off the back straight. So close, as Tom said, to some of these great athletes. We hope you're enjoying this first staging of the Zatopek 10, the 2011 version, the 51st version, as they follow in the footsteps of some of the great names of athletics in this country. Ron Clark, Derek Clayton, Jared Barrett, Rob De Castella, Andrew Lloyd, and the man who'll be making the presentation at the end of the race, Steve Monaghetti, who had 4 wins, 1 second and 7 thirds in this race. They are treading the footsteps of some of the greats.
And it looks like another question's been asked here by the Kenyans at the front. We see St Lawrence and McNeill just dropping back slightly. I think the pace has been raised by Emmanuel, Bett, Micah Kogo and Karoki right there with him. St Lawrence, he looks collected at this stage, but he doesn't want to let them get any further away, because this could be where the race just starts to slip away from him. McNeill maintaining contact there round the bend. Hopefully the cheers of the crowd will spur him on just to edge back up to Ben St Lawrence. But Emmanuel, Bett, he's really driving hard from the front. Of course, he ran that sensational 10,000 metres of Van Dam. Kenny Bekele ran the world leading time on that occasion across there. Some of the greats at 10,000 metres he's raced against, but Bett is leading Kogo, the bronze medalist from the 2008 Olympics, and also not to mention he's the 6th fastest man all time over the distance, and you can't discount that when it comes down to a sprint finish.
And Harry Summers in the driving rain has got past Craig Mottram, and he is running some sort of race, the man from New South Wales, Harry Summers. So they head to the back once again, and this time the Kenyans have a little bit of solitude between the 3 of them. Betts, Kogo and Karoki, they are the men. St Lawrence, well, he's got the Australian Championship to worry about, of course, this being the National Championship at 10,000 metres, and just for the moment he is in the favoured berth to do that, because he's got a break of about 15 metres over McNeill, and they have cleared away in a different zone to the others. Craig Mottram has just gone past the finishing post, and Summers is about 15 to 20 metres out in front of him.
So we see those three Kenyans continue to apply the pressure at the front end of the field, and this is where you've got to watch Bitan, Karoki. Remember, across in Palo Alto early in the year, we went through to about 3,000 metres and just went bang after that, dropped in some 62-second laps, broke up the field and ended up streaking to about a 100-metre victory. So this is the time, if Karoki's going to make a move similar to what he did on that occasion, time to watch the man in red and white, but Bett looking very composed. Kogo, well, he's all class. He's an Olympic medalist. Tucked there, Karoki. St Lawrence has about 30 metres adrift off our leading Kenyans and about 20 metres back there to David McNeill. So they're your top five. We're inside 7 laps remaining. It's the three Kenyans, 1, 2, 3. It's what you expect in these races sometimes, Peter. The Kenyans just working together and working very nicely indeed.
Always, Tom, so hard to pick and read the way the Kenyans are going in a race because they do tend to look very comfortable. But I must say, I think Micah Kogo has been very comfortable in that second place. As we said, most of the time it's been Bett who's made the pace, or it's been Karoki who's made the pace, and Kogo has been very content to sit between them and just focus on the name on the bib of the man in front of him, and he seems to be doing that sufficiently well at the moment to possibly make him the favourite, the 25-year-old, the Olympic bronze medalist in 2008, former world 10-kilometre road record holder, and when he broke that record, he broke the great Haile Gebrselassie record to take over the 10k road record. 6 laps to go. It's a battle in 3. Bett leads, Kogo second, Karoki third. About 40 metres now to Ben St Lawrence, who is the leading Australian, and he's got about 30 metres to David McNeill, who is in 5th place.
And the Kenyans have picked up that pace again. They're edging right back onto that Olympic qualifying time, 21:45 pace. So they went through in about 21 minutes at 6 laps remaining. We see them having to just negotiate one of the bat markers in Andrew White down the back straight. The rope is in, the fans are right there as well. And these three Kenyans just working together. Bett, Kogo, we mentioned, just looks so comfortable and effortless. And when you're a man of his class, of course, when you're talking about a man that can break a world record set by the great Haile Gebrselassie, you know this man is the real deal.
Mottram now finds himself the best part of 300 metres behind the three Kenyans. As they enter the straight and come down, it's getting ever closer. That welcome sight, or the welcome sound of the bell, is still a few laps away from now. But we are getting close to the business end of the Zatopek. This is going to be an extraordinary finish. It's Bett the man who has it at the moment. Kogo second, Karoki third, only 3 metres between them. Ben St Lawrence, the leading Australian, crosses with 5 laps to go. 30 metres astern of him is David McNeill, and Harry Summers is somewhere down the back of the track at the moment in front of Craig Mottram.
So they went through 22:15 at 8,000 metres, travelled bang on 27:50 pace. We'll watch them just start to wind it up further, and I don't think they'll have too many worries going close to 21:45 if this build continues. As we see Micah Kogo, he's looked composed, he's sat back. Now maybe it's the time for him just to apply the screws to his countrymen, show why he is the Olympic bronze medalist, why he is the 6th fastest man all time, why he could break Haile Gebrselassie 10k world record. And we see Kogo lead him into the home stretch. It'll be 4 laps remaining. Karoki right there with him. Wonder if he can just turn up the pace a little bit more. Emmanuel Bett right there too. It's Kenyans 1, 2, 3. Karoki now going to the front. Kogo tacking back. Bett there with him, and it's 4 laps remaining in the Zatopek 10 for 2011.
I think he might have just been testing the waters there, Kogo, just to get to the front to see if there was response from his compatriots, and there certainly was. And once he realised that there was response, Kogo didn't really expend too much energy. He was happy to hand the lead over again to Karoki and to sit in the middle of the 3. Bett's in 3rd, and Harry Summers, he has run a really brave race too. He's probably about 40 metres in front of Craig Mottram. Here he is just coming into the lane now, and Craig Mottram at the top of the straight. But the men that we're after, as Ben St Lawrence heads the Australian contingent, come off the back straight with Karoki leading Kogo and Bett. Stand by for a grandstand finish in the Zatopek 10.
So we're approaching 3 laps remaining. It's Karoki. We saw what he could do over the closing stages, applying the screws, the speed and the pressure to blister away from that leading group of athletes over in Palo Alto, and he's on the front. But you suggested before, Peter, that Kogo was testing the water. Maybe Karoki's just doing that now. He's looked to his inside, he's waving his compatriot through, saying, come on guys, your turn to have a bit of time on the front. Micah Kogo will go through with him. Emmanuel Bett there. Karoki I think he just wants to sit back in, Peter.
Well, that seems to be the way. He just had a look over his left shoulder there to see where Ben St Lawrence is, and the answer is he's at the finishing stripe now, and he has safely got the first Australian sewed up because he's got a gap now of about 60 or 70 metres over David McNeill. Kogo again making the move after getting directions from the traffic cop, otherwise known as Bitan Karoki, and now Bett is going to rotate through the lead as well. So they're all having a bit of a look at the front of the bus. It is Bett's in front. Karoki gets up to the shoulder of Kogo now, and he just puts him away in a pocket just for the moment. He'll be pretty happy to sit there, and that means that Kogo is going to have to drop back and come around the way things are looking. We're getting down to the business end.
And all that little bit of gesticulation, they slowed the pace and that. They've dropped back slightly that last 400 metres. But I don't think that's going to bother them because this is a race in three. This is classic distance running. It's championship running. It's when it comes down to the crunch time. It's 3 men, 1 medal, 1 place on the line. They all want Bitan Karoki at the front. Emmanuel, Bett, Micah, Kogo right there with him. 2 laps remaining in the Zatopek for 2011. Ben St Lawrence gallantly hanging on to that 4th place. He's the leading Australian looking to defend his title. But Karoki just starting to stretch out now, Peter.
Yeah, yet again, those lap runners were a bit of a catalyst, and now he's really putting the hammer down. He's putting them to the test. Karoki down the back straight. Inside, a lap and 3/4 to go. Who's going to stick with him? The answer at the moment is not Kogo. Betts is the man who is sticking with him. They've got 600 metres to go. Karoki has really cranked it up a long way from home, but he's broken the spirit of the Olympic bronze medalist by the look of it, and 3 has become 2. It is Karoki the leader by about 3 or 4 metres. Now the question is, can Emmanuel Bett hang on to his back? He's just in contact at the moment as they come down to get the bell in the Zatopek 10. Karoki has gone a long way from home, and Bett is going to have the last drop at him.
We worried about this, whether Karoki would kick late, but Bett's responding now. He knows how to run fast. Can he outkick him? He's latched back on again to Karoki. Maybe Karoki's just pulled back, but it's inside 400 metres remaining for the 2011 Zatopek 10. The first edition at Lakeside Stadium. We've got a stadium record on our hands here as they go down the back straight. Karoki starting to stretch out. Bett moving up to his outside slightly. They've got to negotiate a lap to run now. Maybe that's the edge that Karoki can get. But with 200 metres remaining, Peter, Bett just starting to come back at him.
He's going to throw the challenge down. Karoki has got the answers at the moment. Ladies and gentlemen, get behind these 2 great runners. It has been a magnificent battle in the Zatopek. Karoki is the man to catch at the top of the lane. Can Bett find something over the last 100? Karoki is being tackled and headed by Bett. Emmanuel Bett runs to the front and sprints away as though it's a 400-metre race, and Emmanuel Bett raises his arm in triumph and wins the Zatopek 10 of 2011 in a wonderful contest with his countrymen. In second place, Bitan Karoki. Here's the Olympic bronze medalist taking 3rd place again, Micah Kogo, and we wait for the arrival of the first Australian, and here he is, Ben St Lawrence, the national record holder, is the first one home in the national championship of 10,000 metres.
And what about David McNeill, the Victorian? He's going to come home, silver medal in the national title, 5th place in the Zatopek 10. He was the 08 champion. He's back here on his own track in Melbourne as we wait for our bronze medalist to come through. And dare I say, it could be Harry Summers, Peter. He's run such a gutsy race as he comes around the top of the bend in the black. It looks like him there.
Yeah, it certainly looks that way. With all of the mixing up that's been going on, it did appear as though he was the man who sprinted past Craig Mottram. And here he comes down to the line, fresh as a daisy. Harry Summers of New South Wales sprinting hard, and that has been a wonderful effort to race away from Buster Mottram and to finish as the 3rd Australian. Craig Mottram making his way down towards the line now in a time of 28.52.
That was a personal best there for Summers. Liam Adams now coming down to round out the top 5 in the Australian Championship. The Victorian crosses the line just over 29 minutes.